Full time here at Old Trafford. Newcastle United have been beaten 3-2 by Manchester United, and that is a really, really bitter pill to swallow for Newcastle. We've been here plenty of times before, particularly in a ground like this, where Newcastle have only won 3 times since the Second World War in the league. It was a frustrating evening for Newcastle, who created plenty of chances. Anthony Gordon was phenomenal, equalised just after the restart of the second half. But Manchester United took their chances and Newcastle didn't, and that's simply where the difference lay today. Newcastle created plenty, as I've mentioned. Gordon and Alexander Isak, who returned to fitness after a brief bout of illness earlier in the week, were causing the slow and lacking confidence back line of Manchester United a lot of problems early on in the first half. But they couldn't make it pay, and a sucker punch from Kobbie Mainoo scored in the first half. Kieran Trippier playing him onside, another mistake punished. At that point, Newcastle were sort of on the ropes, admittedly. They were struggling. You know, Bruno Fernandes, I thought, was sort of quietly very, very good throughout the game. That set the tone for the second half, where Newcastle created, again, more chances. They came out firing and flying when Anthony Gordon equalised, and then they could have taken the lead through Isak when Gordon played him through. Brilliant tackle by Sofian Amrabat. Then Joe Linton and Miguel Almiron, who both came on in the second half, missed good opportunities as well, and then Manchester United kicked into gear and took their opportunities, and both of them were poor goals to concede. A corner flung into the edge of the box where Amad Diallo was stood all alone, and he rifled in an effort past Martin Dubravka, who probably will think that he could have done a lot better with it. And then as Newcastle hunted that equalising goal, Rasmus Højlund, another substitute, came on, and with his first touch, pretty tame effort again past Dubravka, who could do much better, and it's 3-1, and that's good night. Lewis Hall pulled one back in stoppage time with a really good effort, but it was too late, and there was a little bit of nervous energy in the air. But by that point, the game was kind of done, and it's just another very frustrating game where Newcastle have sort of gifted away what could have been a crucial result. They needed a point coming into this game to secure European football, to secure a first finish above Manchester United in the Premier League era, and they kind of fluffed their lines. I thought Gordon, as I said, was phenomenal. I've written a piece on Anthony Gordon for the BBC Sport website about his upbringing and about his progression into becoming a superstar player, and I think that's exactly what he's become. I think he has shown tonight why he should be in Gareth Southgate's England squad. Steve Holland was here, Southgate's assistant, and he'll have seen a player who's hungry and ready to take on the biggest stage. But unfortunately, Newcastle, just alongside him, didn't have enough quality. I thought they dominated the midfield battle in the first half. In the second half, that started to waver a bit, but this was just about missed opportunities, that final ball not being there. In the first half, Elliot Anderson was linking quite well with Gordon and Isak, but his range just wasn't quite there. When push came to shove, Newcastle just couldn't make it count. And at a place like this, you don't get that many opportunities. They'll not play a worse Manchester United team than the one they faced tonight. Casemiro and Johnny Evans were petrified in centre half of Isak and Gordon, as you would imagine, and they're coming into this game of terrible confidence after that defeat to Arsenal. You know, Newcastle really can put Manchester United to bed, and that's so bizarre to be stood at Old Trafford talking about Newcastle being able to put Manchester United to bed, but they didn't do it. And it kind of reminds me of the cup final again. A big occasion, a big opportunity. Newcastle fluffed their lines, just like the Champions League. I've mentioned on this channel before about their mentality and their belief in themselves when push comes to shove, and this is another example, unfortunately, where they failed that test, and they have to go to Brentford now and win, but you can't rely on Manchester United not to pick up points on the final day. Newcastle need to go to the GTEC Community Stadium and put in a performance. It wasn't really there tonight. Yes, there were good opportunities, and yes, they played some good football, and I think Gordon, again, I want to mention him again, I thought he was phenomenal. I definitely think it was a penalty in the first half, by the way. From where I was in the press box, at first I thought Casemiro won the ball, but then you see Amrabat catches heel, and then the evidence is there with his sock getting damaged. So that was one that went against Newcastle tonight. And yes, you need those things to go for you when you're at a place like Old Trafford, but I don't think Newcastle did enough with what they had to put this Manchester United team to bed. They're a better team than this Manchester United side. No strikers on the pitch from them from the very start. Starting Højlund and Rashford on the bench. They didn't really create much in the first half beyond Mainoo's goal. Newcastle were in the ascendancy at half time. They made it count just after the break, and they should have really gone on to win it from there. But they fluffed their lines, and Manchester United punished them. And I think that's a mentality thing. I think that is, you come to a club that knows how to win. Even though they're in dire straits, they know how to win. Manchester United, they've always known how to win, especially here. And they showed that exact same mentality strength again to take the 3 points here. This is a Newcastle side that did enough. They created enough chances. They had enough firepower off the bench. They had everything they needed, everything going for them, and they didn't make it count. And that is, I think, a question for their mentality. And it comes back to the same thing as the cup final. There was a couple of moments at that game at Wembley where Manchester United made them pay. I think this was a better performance in the cup final. Newcastle created more, it looked more like themselves in their build-up play, but they didn't make it count. And you think back to that Almiron chance when Gordon flashed the ball across the box. You think back to Dan Burn having the header cleared off the line by Casemiro in the first half. You think back to Isak getting denied by a brilliant tackle by Amrabat with that play through by Gordon just after 1-1. These are the moments you've got to make count if you're going to be a top team and show yourselves to be a top team. And Newcastle, on this evidence in terms of that, they have a long way to go. I think it isn't nearly as bad as that in every sense. Newcastle have a lot of quality. They've obviously come through a very difficult season with injuries and fatigue and everything. But like on Saturday when I did my review of the Brighton game, I felt like Newcastle didn't do enough with what they had on the pitch, and it's the same here again tonight. Gordon was phenomenal. Nobody really matched him to the level that they can. As I say, it's a must-win game against Brentford now to end the season, and with European football. If not, then I think it will be, given where they were in this final stretch, given where they put themselves when they got into their stride when they got their players back. As I say, that win over Spurs, the win over West Ham, the victory over Sheffield United and Burnley, they've got themselves on a roll. They've got themselves into a position, and this week and over the last few games, the Palace game, the Brighton game, and now the Manchester United game, they seem to have really done their best to throw it away. The Newcastle fans were situated just over there behind me. They were phenomenal all game. You could hear them louder than the Manchester United fans. Credit to them again. Manchester United do also have the chance to go to Wembley and win the FA Cup. That's also something to add into the conversation about about Europe and about where Newcastle stand. But this performance feels like a big missed opportunity, a big opportunity blown. Newcastle have been here before at Old Trafford, leaving with a lot of frustration, leaving with a lot of heartache. I think this one feels even worse because they really could and should have taken the 3 points in if they'd taken their chances. Do you think Manchester United have something going if they're brave enough to stick with it? They've got good young players in Alejandro Garnacho. Rasmus Højlund obviously came off the bench and scored tonight. Kobbie Mainoo, I think, is a really good player. Amad Diallo showed tonight what he can do with that fantastic goal, but they're a long way off it. They've got to be very, very patient. Newcastle, in their build-up play, are almost there, but it's just that mentality thing, learning how to put teams away under pressure. Newcastle didn't manage to do that tonight, and ultimately that could prove very, very costly if they don't go to Brentford on Sunday and take 3 points. I'll be back to preview that game on Friday night. Please like, share and subscribe to my channel if this is what you like, and I'll see you next time. Cheers.